Welcome to Sex, Lies, and Consciousness with your luscious hostess, May Vu, broadcasting live every Monday at 12 noon Pacific Time.
This is May Vu, Sex, Lies, and Consciousness radio show hostess, and we are here on a beautiful, beautiful Thursday night talking about orgasmic meditation. How wonderful is that? I'm going to turn it over to my collaborator, Sue Sabert. She is going to run this conversation, and it's going to be hot. Here you go.
Woohoo! So we've been talking about doing an orgasmic meditation hangout for such a long time, so I'm glad that we finally were able to fit it into the hangout schedule. So maybe what I can do is frame out what I think that we can, kind of play with in the discussion for the next hour.
First slow down and give them a little tidbit on what is orgasmic and what's the organization and all that, just in case people who don't know.
Yep, I'm doing
That's where you're going. Okay, good. Sorry, we don't rehearse, so I just didn't want us to just assume that the audience know what this is.
Yeah, nope. I want to, before I do like a quick summary of orgasmic meditation, what it is, and sort of what are the things that I thought we could cover during this hangout. I thought we could do a quick introduction for everybody who's on the panel. So I'm looking in the order of left to right. So can you give us like a quick introduction, your name, what you do, why you're interested in being part of this orgasmic meditation panel, and how it might pertain to you? So Ben, you want to start?
I would love starting, thanks. I wish I could figure out my lower thirds, but I can't, so I'm going to forget about it.
It's not working today.
Okay, great. I'm Ben Rohde, and I have a business called Explosive Sexual Healing with my lovely wife, and my lovely baby is here as well.
Baby Bella!
There she is. I'm babysitting. Everybody say hi.
You know what, Ben? Dads always say that they babysit. Mom never say they babysit. So you might want to check that out. I don't know why. Dad said, "Oh, I'm babysitting today." I'm like, us mom, we never use that word.
That's funny. That's a good point. That's very funny. Yeah. Just in case I have to go, it's all good. I'll be back. So we have a business called Explosive Sexual Healing, and we work with G-spot orgasm. And so it's kind of the opposite of one taste. One taste working with the clit only. And so we send our clients to one taste to get the clit stuff. And the one taste, orgasmic meditation really helps focus on the pleasure and focus on the tiny little sensations. And that's often so hard for people to do, is to get out of their head and focus on those sensations. So for people to make a practice, people who need a sexual practice, that's what we have them do, is go to the go do oming, and then we have one taste people that come to us to open up to activate their G spot, so they can feel their clit from the backside and feel it, coming all the way up to the top.
Feel the explosion.
Boom.
Baby.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Candace?
Hi.
Candace, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Did I freeze?
There's also my
dog.
dog.
Oh, no.
That was not Candace talking.
Cool. So my name is Candace Holdorf. I have a business called The Orgasmic Life. And my interest in orgasmic meditation stems from the fact that I am, one of the people that went through one taste and learned the incredible practice, and now I am someone who teaches it to others. So I work with clients individually to help them soften, relax, open, deepen, widen to the subtle sensations that live within them, and oftentimes the not so subtle sensations that can come through tapping into the clitoris. So
thank you. So glad you're here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm May. And
you.
not only am I a Sex, Lies, and Consciousness radio host, I also have a tie-in with Orgasmic Meditation from the fact that I was invited a few years ago, about 3 or 4 years ago, to help One Taste design the coaching component around their program. So not only does One Taste teach how to ohm, they also use the ohming technology as a coaching tools to help people live it in their life. And it's very powerful structure. So so I'm responsible for bringing that coaching part into One Taste program, and it was such an amazing thing for me to do. And while I was doing that, I also got to be a student. I got to ohm. I got to learn how to ohm, and I got to practice ohming in my personal life. And my claim to fame around ohming is that I am a reluctant, resistant ohmer. I know how to do it. I know it's good for me. And my partner and I rarely ever get to it. However, I do ohm with Maria, who's next, because I don't know what. Maria also is a trained ohmer. And so we actually stroke each other's clitoris, which I like to talk about that today too, because I think that's a really powerful stand in ohming. Your turn, honey.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a great segue.
Thank you, May. So my name is Maria. I'm also trained in orgasmic meditation. Came via my curiosity learning about personal development. I've been working with coaching since 2004, and I was just looking for my next development where I could transform in a new way. And it took me to the area of sexuality and orgasmic meditation. I haven't seen any methodology or tool, I would say, that is so highly transformative on your three levels of you, on your physical body, on your mind, your thoughts, and on an emotional level. It goes really, really deep. So one part speaks about orgasmic meditation as something into pleasure, but I have also seen the pain, the fear, the resistance that really lies within this practice. And what I'm up to spread to other women is that if you courageously can step into and explore your orgasm, then you can achieve anything in the world. So that's my turn on in exploring the human orgasm.
Thank you.
Yep.
And
Mari, I'm not sure if she's still with us.
she is. I think she just doesn't want to. Does she want to speak, or does she just not want the video on? I'll just go to Stephen, and she can text you or Facebook you if she wants to speak. Okay.
Sure. So,
Okay, Mari.
Hi, Romberg. I'm a sex coach. I studied with One Taste, and my first and that was several years ago in my first class, and I've been just growing in many different ways. The very first thing that I learned right away was that I could actually focus on something for 15 minutes, and all of that has spilled over into wonderful things in everyday life.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful. So I'm Sue Seibert, and I collaborate with May on Sex, Lies, and Consciousness, and I also do coaching on my own. You can find me on Facebook at Susan Seibert Coaching. Usually we have our lower third toolbar panel on today, but today it's not working. So, and I apologize up front for anybody who can hear a dog barking in the background. So, what I thought that we could do, since everybody was beautifully talking about what orgasmic meditation is sort of in their introductions, I thought maybe I could just tell you a little bit about oming. This is, and I'm sorry I get distracted by this dog, but it's in the space.
You know what? Why don't you go manage the dog, and I'll bring Johan in and let him introduce. How's that? Can you mute that?
Sure.
Great. Go, honey. Introduce yourself, Mr. Johan. Unmute your microphone. At the top of the screen, there's a little microphone thing. Can you? You're fine. So on the control of Google, I think you come in last, and so they mute you. Okay, can't hear you for some reason. I can't. You're meant to be silent today. So sorry. Sue is back. Go for it, Sue. Go ahead, Sue.
Okay, so thank you for letting me close my window so we can deal with the dog barking. So, you know, Ben and Candace and Maria and some of the other folks were talking about the focus of orgasmic meditation. And so I thought maybe I would just frame this up a little bit. So the practice is basically a mindful practice, and it's performed with a partner, always with two people. Either it can be a man and a woman or two women. And it really is comprised, like Ben was saying, finger to genital contact or clit stroking. And the focus is really on the sensation. You know, I know in One Taste and Nicole Dedone, who sort of is at the forefront of orgasmic meditation, always talks about the sensation. You know, you don't really have to go anywhere with oming. It's just about being present and feeling. And she also describes it as bringing consciousness to sexuality. And what I neglected to say from my experience with oming was, for me, and I learned by video only. I never had a coach. But for me, like, I found that it really deepened and heightened my orgasm. You know, from, you know, prior to oming, you know, an orgasm might take, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. And to the state of after oming, you know, I can orgasm within 30 seconds. So yeah, it's really
so much for a goalless practice.
And I just want to clarify that you're using the word orgasm, and I think what you're also meaning is climax. I just want to make that distinction as we're speaking, that when you're saying I can orgasm in 30 seconds now, that you're just meaning like you can climax, you can reach climax, because in the orgasmic meditation there's a redefining of orgasm, and I just want to make sure that that's heard pretty immediately.
So redefine it for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my pleasure. According to the philosophy of orgasmic meditation, orgasm is essentially I like to call it the breathing, pulsing, dynamic life force between within ourselves and between two people. So it's not just, you know, climax is one aspect of it, but orgasm is really when the involuntary musculature takes over in the body. So signs of orgasm can be your pussy swelling, it can be your lips swelling, it can be your nipples swelling, it can be just like movement in the body, like involuntary movement. All of these are expressions of orgasm. So what orgasmic meditation does is takes your own personal orgasm and reintroduces it to you in a stroke by stroke, because you're literally being stroked or stroking, and expands the expression and the feeling of orgasm from just this climactic up and down feeling to this big, expansive wave that can last, 30 seconds, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or even longer, hours for some who've practiced for a long time.
Sounds delicious.
And adding to that, because it's such a great, it's like if we're seeing the orgasm goes ups and down, what our experience is with the more orgasmic meditation I do is you're capable of staying high. We call it about the peaks and the valleys. And if the orgasm is in these flows, the more orgasmic meditation you're doing, the more you can be on the sensation of the peak without going over the edge, which is basically the climax part. So you open up your physical body to be capable of reaching higher experiences of being on that edge without actually going over and climaxing. And that creates so much more sensation in your life.
I just have to be the voice of the ignorance, like, hey, I like the whole climaxing thing. I like going over the edge. Can I just get there as soon as I can and repeat that cycle? Like, why would I have, it feels like torture to me to like raise it and feeling more and never get anywhere. That's what it feels like to me. I just want to have to throw that reality voice in there. Any comment?
I think with orgasmic meditation, because you then become so intimate with the own landscape of your orgasm, climax then becomes a choice. You're no longer beholden to the, my body is da-da-da. You get to open and like, all right, I'm going to ride this wave, and okay, today I'm going to choose climax. Why not? So it's not that anything is, one type of experience is better than the other. It's just that you get to know the whole landscape, and then the ride you go on gets to be, I'll take this and this and this from the buffet of my orgasm today. So
yeah, and I actually, so with our clients, we actually have a lot of people that come in, and they're really good at the clitoral orgasm. They can bring themselves to orgasm in 30 seconds, and they actually don't know how to hold on to that sensation for longer, right? So we get them in here, and they're like, they're almost at orgasm within 30 seconds, and we're like, whoa, hold on a little bit. We want to expand their body's capacity for pleasure. And, in our society, it's so easy to want to, get in, get out, and like get the quick fix, go, we do emotional eating and emotional sex and emotional, everything's like kind of to fill a void. And so it's a little bit different. It's easy to want to release it, and then maintaining it, holding on to that good feeling, and being able to ride the wave, like she said, is just is amazing. And also, it really just it does expand the body's capacity for pleasure. And I love One Taste definition of orgasm. And our business, we talk about bringing someone to 30 minutes of G-spot orgasm, by which we mean G-spot climax. So that means we can say 30 minutes of G-spot orgasm followed by 30 minutes of G-spot climax.
How good can life get? That good and so much more. And like then Ben would be, and now we're going to go again, May.
Only if you want to.
And Ben, you're bringing up some good points that made me think about the other important thing to talk about with orgasmic meditation is the fact that it is a very definite structure, in that it's got a time capacity to it. It's basically 15 minutes in duration, and it's got a structure. You have a frame to it. There's a way that you set it up. There's a way that the partners come into the practice, and then there's a way that that you exit it and share your experiences. So it is a very mindful practice. I just wanted to make sure that I shared that for people that are not at all familiar with what the practice is.
Well, let's talk about that part, the partnership part, because I think this is a part that's also very complex and play a big piece. I mean, most people focus on the clitoris and the orgasmic thing and what is orgasm and all that stuff, but like just to even find a partner who would come and do this practice with you. And technically, you're supposed to be able to do this with anybody who has a finger, right? And who can find a clit and who's willing to sit for 15 minutes and practice this with you. But it's hell. It's hell with a woman, right? And this is the international sign for Omi. It's hell for a woman, especially to even approach that. So let's talk about why that is such an important part of the practice, and how does that impact their life when a woman can get an oming partner, can get to a place where they're not so attached to, you know, just because somebody touched your clitoris, you don't have to be in a relationship with them. But right now, that's how women's minds are set up. If you're going to touch my clitoris, you better be in relationship with me. And that's where things go so right. So I want to just like us opening that up. And I can feel Miss Candace's body wanting to speak. So go, honey. I'll give you first dip.
Well, you touch on two important aspects that Nicole teaches regarding slow sex, which is slow sex is the whole philosophy, and orgasmic meditation is the practice. And two of those pieces are desire and simplicity. So desire is in that piece around, oh, I really want a partner to do this with. And in fact, the first step to oming is asking for an om, is expressing your desire. So before you can even tap into your orgasm, there has to be this moment of, desire. And so when a woman is able to finally tap into her desire and express her desire and receive the desire, that is an opening, an invitation to her body to receive more pleasure and to allow orgasm to flow through her. I'm going to pause you right there. Sorry, but that's a lot to hold.
Yeah, so I'm going to help you like tease it out a little bit. And for the newbie people who engage in this, when they're asked what's your desire, what they really want is, I desire a long-term partner. And, like, we're so attached to that picture of, okay, is this process going to get me my long-term partner? And it's just really hard to help people see the distinction between desire of a long-term partner versus desire that Nicole is speaking to. So slow us down right there, Candace, and then tease that apart for us.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I think the second piece I was talking about was simplicity. And so the practice of Om takes, it connects you to the purest form, connection of orgasm that you can have. Meaning, there's no romance on top of connecting to your orgasm. There's no trying to get the person to sleep with you. There's a lot in the way that we utilize our sexuality and our orgasm as a means of getting a husband or getting sex or something like that. And when we're able to come to the practice of Om, or come to exploring our orgasm just in connection with another person without anything else of that on top of it, it can open us up to more deeper, richer experiences and deeper connections to our own bodies and our own pleasure without all that goal and fear stuff on top. So that's one piece. I'm sure someone else have a lot more to say about it.
It's a big piece. It's a really big piece, and I want each one of us to have a version of explaining that, because it's really complex, I think, for us, normal people who are looking for love to really get this. What you really want is through this door, not through the door that you've been looking for, kind of thing. So, Sue, go ahead, honey.
Well, I'm sorry. My audio was a little bit off. Were you talking to me?
Yeah, I thought you were squeaking over there. Like, I thought you jumped in and were going to say something, so I just turned it over to you.
What I wanted to also share or bring in is the male voice. So we're talking about the experience from the feminine, and you know, asking for an ohm and the desire, and what it's like to ride the wave, but what's it like for the man, the stroker? So Stephen, Ben, Johan, I'd love to hear, you know, what that's like for you.
Well, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Woo! It's working. Amazing.
Yep.
Thanks, Maria, for the tip. I think. So I'm a total layperson. I don't know anything about it, and that is really the question. I'm coming here as a male, the stroker, if you want. How do you introduce even the concept of umming to someone? You know, if you have someone that is if you have someone that expresses the desire, Candace, as you said, how do you get to the point of actually opening the door to even the possibility for a layperson?
Yeah, like a layperson, not just that, but a man who represents sexual predator. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, we've
exactly.
had this conversation in our previous hangout where, you know, it's hard for a man to ask for sex because he's always seen as a sexual predator. So how does a man approach a woman and say, hey, how about if, you know, I stroke your clitoris for 15 minutes and no sex involved?
I really like to speak to that, Mary.
Yay! You go, honey.
Because I've had the experience of living in a country, being a pioneer in a whole continent in Europe on this work. So I've experienced what it means to be a woman and step out and speaking about it. One part of why orgasmic meditation is presented in the form of having introduction, going to an own class, or working with an own coach is just it's there in order to have you learning the tools for how to approach people, how to ask for an own, and also how to get trained into starting to feel your desire of bringing it out to the world. And I've learned that for a man, it feels, so being a woman, it feels so much more easier from a man perspective that is experienced stroke to be out and actually ask a woman, like, hey, I'm doing this practice of 15 minutes stroking your clitoris, and after you share a frame and then you're free to go. That's so much more attractive compared from a woman that is saying, would you like to stroke my pussy for 15 minutes? Because that basically means that I'm going to teach him how to do it. If you're an experienced stroker, you're actually in the control of the situation, and the woman can lay back and relax and receive. Which I see the beauty of orgasmic meditation is that it gives this positions to the female and male to find their sex, like the power in the sex, which in the feminine way is to actually be able to receive, surrender, let go, because in our sex life, women are very good in being the driving force, and orgasmic meditation forces them basically into surrendering to the orgasm, and the man to sit there and stroke them and hold them in that energy. And I think that is really about empowering our sex as women and men.
Ben, I see your hand raised over there. So
yeah. I can say something if you want. So as far as you know, what you said about men being predators, I love that. And what
I said men are seen as predator. I'm not saying men are predators. Those are two different things.
And the thing is, the reason that certain men are seen as predators is because they're creepy and weird about it. Is because they're not direct and they're not, comfortable with, asking for sex. A man who is comfortable, like there's nothing more attractive than a man who is completely comfortable and open in his sexuality and is grounded in it and doesn't have anything weird about it. And so he's not trying to trick her into anything because he's just comfortable and he just is. He's a sexual human being. And, so when a man is coming from that place, there's nothing weird about it. And so, there's nothing to be seen as a predator there. And I think that's one of the things that, they teach is just being open and cool about it. And when when they're indoctrinated in this, system of like asking for ohms again and again and again, it becomes a normal thing. It's not weird anymore. It's not like, it's weird the first time, it's weird the second time, and after a while you're like, okay, I totally get it, and it's no longer like, well, how do I do this kind of thing? It's oh, well, this just is, it's like asking someone where's the bathroom or something,
Yeah, and I think for the woman it's equally the same. Like for us to just come up to a man and say, hey, I'm doing this practice, and would you like to like stroke my pussy for stroke my clit for 15 minutes? It's just as awkward and weird and strange, the first 5 times at least. How does that sound, Johan, since you had the question and you are not tainted by the philosophy or the work? So feel free to bring on your rage and anger about this whole thing.
And I find that a little bit surreal to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So I know about oming. I've through the conversations here and my connection to Maria, in at least a certain extent, I'm not completely oblivious to it, and yet I think the concept for me, and this is I guess one of the questions, is like the concept of me offering my services. I don't even want to, even naming it like that sounds really weird. But even approaching someone around that seems very strange. The whole thing for me as a newbie seems like there's a closed system. How do you get in?
Mm-hmm.
And I start with my partner. That seems the natural place to be. I'm not even sure if I want to go outside of that frame at this moment. It's like it seems just pretty uncomfortable.
I think
yeah.
I think what you speak to is the lifetimes of conditionings that we have around sexuality.
Yes.
Like somehow porn and having affairs and secrecy and cheating and lying are much more acceptable and understood than being upfront about sex, being healthy, asking for it, being really clean about it, knowing what the boundary is. Like this practice is a spiritual practice. There's a boundary, there's a beginning, and there's an ending. There's no penetration.
Yes.
There's nothing of that. And so for us to like be upfront like that, the reaction is, wow, that's way too strange. I don't accept that. And that's so normal. It just speaks to the jail, the prison that we live in with our sexuality and our relationship to sex.
And I guess breaking that cycle would be something that I'd be certainly interested in. So how do you get to break that cycle? My wife knows that I'm on this conversation. It completely weirds her out and saying, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, she comes from that old paradigm.
What is that all about? And so it's like even that is like I'm learning how to stand up and saying, this is what I'm doing, just for my own edification at this moment, and maybe for your pleasure at a certain point.
Exactly. Well, and I think that's the same with everything, right? Like you and I and Sue, actually just about everyone here, like 15 years ago or 17 years ago when I came into the life coaching world, people look at me and go, life coaching, what's that, soccer? What's that? And are you a therapist? Are you qualified to touch my life? Can you really do all that stuff? Right? All the same resistance that we are now talking about oming and stroking a clitoris, but
are you qualified to stroke my clit?
That's right. I just might be. I want to also bring in Nicole. Nicole, come on in, honey. Would you like to add your voice to the conversation? You don't have to be an omer or anything. You can be like Johan representing the non-omer, like what the hell is this stuff?
There we go. Okay. I'm muted. I am muted. Sounds good. I'm happy to be here.
And what brought you to this conversation?
Well, you.
Okay.
I'm just kind of brand new to meditation myself, and I'm all about having an orgasm. So
This is like a 2-for-1 deal. I get to meditate.
I just realized I have a big bear behind me, so you can enjoy
It's all good. Thank you. Well, let's talk about the meditation piece about this. Sue, you want to start us on that one? Or unless you have another direction you want to take us to.
No, could you ask the question again? I'm sorry. My
okay.
My audio is a little bit delayed.
Let's talk about the meditation part.
Well, yeah, I definitely want to get there. One thing that I just wanted to go back and maybe add on for Johan, coming from somebody in a relationship. I kind of was in a similar place as you, Johan, where I kind of knew about orgasmic meditation a couple years ago from a friend of mine who was in One Taste. Mm-hmm. But it was like kind of weird, and we didn't really know what it meant, but I really wanted to experience it, and so I shared it with my partner, and it was really uncomfortable watching the video together for the first couple minutes, and then it became like curious, and I was just like, wow, I wonder what this is really like. So we tried it. You know, and the first couple times are a little bit uncomfortable and clunky and you know, whatever. That's just my experience. But what we found is once we started getting into the rhythm of the practice, it was just really beautiful. And for me, you know, there was a lot of surrendering and vulnerability that I'm still working with and what I really needed. And then from his perspective, what he's getting out of it is he loves being able to make me feel amazing, and he loves the sensation that he gets from it, and it makes him feel more empowered. And I guess maybe, you know, sharing it with your wife, you know, from the mutual benefits that you can get, and really deepening the connection that you have. You know, for me, I would think that would far outweigh any type of uncomfortableness. But again, that's just my experience, but I wanted to share it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. And I guess as with so many things, it is that piece of getting over a certain threshold of, you know, it's like moving through the uncomfortable or discomfort, the initial discomfort, to own whatever it is that you want. It's like I'm certainly looking for the more intimate aspect of it, of connection, mm-hmm. on a much deeper level than on the surface of diddling someone's clit. You know, it's not about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious. Are you going to share this hangout with your wife after we're done? Actually, and it's recorded?
I'm actually thinking of I'm going to have to ask her to, you know, I'm going to ask her to see if she's willing to look at it. Yeah.
Tell her there was no clitoris display on the hangout.
So yeah. I love where we're going here in the discussion about connection, because basically I think that is what all brings to human beings. Mm-hmm. I'm in many situations I'm training people that have tried doing oming by themselves, but have never been into oming coaching situations, so someone is actually helping them finding that particular spot of connection. Mm-hmm. And I was just doing this with a couple last week on Ireland, and I was again like this sense of the beauty, what it means when this couple had been married for 35 years, and they had tried oming, and here I was guiding him and had him sort of relaxing into, and he actually felt the spot. Mm. And in that moment, it was like the room got silent, and I had goosebumps on my body, and I was shivering, and it just relaxed. And I, you know, from now on, I didn't need to say anything because he had found something really profound. And after he was saying, this is the first time I ever felt such deep connection between us.
Mm.
And I think that's the beauty of what Om can bring to human beings. That really, really deep connection.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I can add to that too. You know, I visited Maria in Sweden last year, and while I was there, I stayed at her house. And since I know she owns, and I know she knows how to stroke, and I have been a receiver, and so we actually own together, which is really odd and strange for a heterosexual woman that I am. Not interested in Maria at all. Love her though, think she's beautiful, but I'm not interested in a relationship with her, right? So my head has to hurdle through that and say, oh, wait a minute, you know, I'm letting a woman touch my clit and stroke my clit for my pleasure. And then in return, I do the same for her. And like, oh my God, I'm looking at a woman's vagina, which, you know, I'm not privy to because I see cock, I don't see vagina. So it's just amazing. But what I want to speak to is that it does speak to our friendship. Like Maria and I are, after, you know, spending a whole week over.
Oh, now you're muted.
Ben somehow muted me, so wow. Anyway,
Sorry.
Like, did you not like what I have to say? You're muting me now?
I was trying to figure out what these buttons do.
Anyway, it deepened our friendship like nobody's business. It's really interesting, and we don't even talk about it or anything, you know, but there's a way of connecting and understanding, and there's a sense of I have your back with Maria that I don't normally have with other women.
I think that's an amazing perspective, and thank you for sharing that. I've only had the experience once of being able to be the stroker, and what I also wanted to just share quickly is that it's not easy.
No.
It is so, you know, it gave me a whole new perspective on what it's like to be in the stroker's position, and how you need to relax and feel and be connected and communicate, because you know, it's a very different sensation. And so definitely I highly advocate doing that if that's possible.
So speaking of that, so Sue, since you're coming out in August, would you like to own?
Now you're on the spot.
Would you like to stroke my clitoris and let me stroke yours?
I would love it.
And that's how you ask for an ohm.
There you go. That's how you ask for an ohm. Giggling, embarrassed, awkward. It's the same. That's right. Oh goodness, that's just too much fun. Go ahead.
So you were also kind of pointing us into the meditation pathway of the practice, and I will say, like, I haven't had much experience with that. So you know, it being a very conscious, mindful, spiritual practice, you know, maybe Candace, you know, or somebody else who's actually a coach and trained in this, maybe you can take us into that.
Candace or Ben, you want to go first?
I totally missed the question.
I'll read it for you in a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would love to talk about it.
So the focus is now shifting towards the meditation part of the practice. And the way that I like to think of it is if you've ever done any sort of, say, like a Vipassana meditation, or just like a meditation where you're sitting and you're noticing your breath, or you're noticing the sensations in the body. You're just simply there, present, noticing what's happening with you. And similarly, oming is you noticing the sensations in your body while in connection with another human being with a lot of energy flowing. So it just helps you learn how to be present with more and more high sensation in your body as you start to develop the practice. And the high sensation, typically starts right away. That moment you ask for an om, then like you feel hot in your face and you're giggling, or you've just admitted a desire, and so you're starting to all these different aspects you learn how to hold and be with, and that's definitely a deep part of the meditation aspect. Another piece around meditation is that typically it helps us come face to face with the mental constructs or the ideas that we have about who we are or what we think sex is. And through the practice of Om, we start to come face to face with those, with the shadow, with like the shadow of the predator. Someone who's like integrated their predator, I'm more likely to be attracted to than someone who's kind of like, oh, I don't have a predator, like we all have a predator in us, and the more that you can just like recognize it and bring it to the table out proud and loud, then that's another aspect that meditation usually helps us with, is to identify these pieces of ourselves that maybe we pushed in the shadow, or help us to dissolve the old constructs of thinking we have. Like, I can't Om with my friend who's a woman because I'm a heterosexual woman. And Om confronts that piece in ourselves and helps us to dissolve and touch a deeper truth.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ben?
Okay, I'll go. So I actually have like 50 things to say, but I'll limit it to probably 3 or so.
Try.
Yeah, just because of the time, So as far as the meditation goes, yeah, it's a meditation for the stroker and the strokee. And, so I'll talk about that in a second. But what we really see with our clients is that there's so much, their first couple sessions there's so much coming up around, what am I doing? This is weird. Am I allowed to do this? Am I doing it right? And so we just keep bringing them back. We have them express themselves. So what we do is a lot different than oming. But the way that we handle that situation is we have them express whatever they're talking, whatever's going on inside. We have them express it externally. So whatever they're feeling internally is immediately expressed externally. So till they say out loud, okay, I'm really feeling like I'm doing something wrong. And then we'll say, okay, great, thanks for saying that out loud. Now back in your body. Focus back on the pleasure. So and then we tell them it is a meditation. It's a meditation on the pleasure, because we all have a computer virus inside of our head that brings up fear and has us live in our fear. And all it is a computer virus. It's living in your fear and living in, what do other people think of me, and what am I supposed to be doing, who am I supposed to be. It's literally a computer virus in your head. And so what we need to do is, through that meditation, quiet the mental chatter that's always in fear and in a reactive mode, and go into our pleasure, and go into that space where it's, what do I want and what feels good to me, and to be able to receive. That's another major issue with the feminine in this society, is the feminine is the receptive. The feminine receives. The feminine draws in. And so, like, the feminine has become powerful in the masculine way, and there's so much power in the feminine way, and the feminine way is receiving, and being powerful in receiving, and being powerful in a feminine way. And then for the stroker, it's a meditation for us. I haven't done any oming since my last relationship, my last girlfriend. We were together for 2.5 years. I got her into oming. I swiped my credit card for the course before I even knew what it was. I just heard there was a new sex practice around, and I was like, done, whatever it is. And they're like, it's this on the clit, and I was like, that's it. And so I wanted something to add on to my G-spot expertise, And so it really did help me get in touch with the clit. And at the same time, it was painful for me to sit there for 15 minutes doing this and not really feeling anything myself and not having any kind of like immediate gratification, you know. So I'm used to G-spot orgasm, and it's like, you know, 30 minutes of like ejaculating and screaming and flailing and like action movie, you know, explosions and, you know, all that stuff, and then
with theme music.
Exactly, and you know, all that stuff. And so with, you know, this, I'm like waiting for like the fireworks or something, and you know, so I said, okay, I'm gonna do this for, you know, as long as it takes. I did it for a month, and I probably did it for 2 months, and I don't know, I never got into it. And so it got to the point where I actually said to my girlfriend at the time, I said, well, you know, I know this is beneficial. I know it's beneficial for you and for me, and I don't have the patience for it. I don't have the time for it. Why don't you go own with somebody else? So I actually chose someone for her to own with. I had her own with Eli Block. He's amazing. I love him. And so they did that for a while, and it was great. And she got to have her own, and I got to go, you know, read a book or do whatever else it is that I had to do. And the important thing to know I'm saying this part because I just talked to a client about this today. She was saying that her boyfriend doesn't really like to own, and I was saying, well, do you tell? He was saying he doesn't like to own because he doesn't get any immediate gratification for it. And so I told her to have him own for her and not necessarily for him. You know, so if you want to ask your husband or your boyfriend for an own and he doesn't want to do it for him, you know, he does want to do it for you. If you tell him, look, this feels amazing for me, I really want to do this, will you please do this for me? Of course he's going to touch your clit for 15 minutes for you. You know, and so anytime, you know, my girlfriend at the time would say, will you own with me? I'd say, nah, why don't you go own with Eli? And she'd say, well, I really want to own with you. And then I'd be flattered, and I'd say, oh, okay, great, I would love to. So that's that. I covered 3 things.
You know, we speak about that the stroker has to find his own pleasure in the arm itself, and I'm stroking a lot of women also, so I know how it feels from being a stroker perspective, and I think there is something like could be more or less challenging in a way of what it means to actually find your own pleasure, but I think either you're and I think that's also the recommendation, like try it for 10 times, and either you like it or you're not going to like it. And I think the power that exists in OM is basically, we speak about the limbic connection, the connection that happens between 2 human beings in our brains are connecting in a way. And I think that's the real beauty of what it means to connect on a deep level. So the pleasure base is one level, but the other one is the intimacy connection level, and I see that's like 2 separate things, basically. Like, you can cultivate your intimacy with your partner, but you can also cultivate your capacity to be able to feel more and be in a more pleasurable state.
I would say the bottom line is that this practice is so deep. It's so deep. More than any of us really know the depth of what's available to us. So on the surface, it creates connection between 2 people. On the surface, it deepens the connection between husband and wives. It opens up communication. That's just the surface, guys, right? And then a little bit lower than that, it breaks up our codependency attitude. You know, this whole, you know, in the beginning we stroke to please, the stroker stroked to please the receiver. But underneath that, over time, the stroker learned to stroke for his or her own pleasure. That is a profound change, a profound change in human connection when you truly do something for your own pleasure instead of on this codependence realm of I do it for you, tit for tat. Does that make me your hero? Does that do you love me more? So we're breaking that chain. So
But the man does love to be the hero.
Yeah, right.
That's
And
the masculine.
it is.
The knight in shining armor.
As wonderful as it is, it also traps us. So this practice allows us to have another layers of relationship to ourselves, and from there you can be an honest hero. You can be a hero that stands on your own right rather than on the need to please or the need to earn approval. Those are two different kinds of heroes.
That's true.
So there's like these layers of depth that we could go on forever to describe it to you. We just know that oming is really great, and it takes practice, it takes discipline, and it takes persistence to go at it. And when you do, it keeps opening up your life and your relationship in ways that you've never imagined.
Yeah, and I just want to add that not only does it, the deeper you go, does it open up, as you were saying, around stroking for your own pleasure. It's also, you get to a point where there's no giver, there's no receiver. On the surface, it looks like the stroker, or we'll just say the man, is like doing something to the woman to make her happy. So he's like giving to her, which facilitates, again, the commerce-based mind we have around sex. Well, I did this to you, now you owe me something. And what if that's on a woman's mind? She's not going to surrender to orgasm if she's afraid, like, what do I owe? But the more you practice, the deeper you go, the stroker realizes, oh my gosh, I'm receiving so much at the same time as I'm giving the energy. And the woman, or the strokey lying back is like, wow, the energy is flowing out of my clit. I'm literally like giving away this energy as much as I'm receiving it back. So those two concepts no longer exist in in some of the deepest and more profound levels of orgasmic meditation.
Take a big deep breath, everyone. Oh my goodness, it's so big. So do you wanna bring us to a close? And
yeah, what I'd love to just see from Nicole and Stephen, is there anything that we're at the close, but I just wanted to see what your perspective is, especially Nicole being new to this and new to our hangouts. I just wanted to get your thoughts.
Well, I am just definitely taking, I think, in a lot of information, but I just listening, it makes me feel even more comfortable to explore and to just like ask questions, and especially with my partner, just kind of how to bring up the conversation and kind of learn and have another, I guess you could say, project to learn together. So I'm excited. I just got inspired actually for the first time today. So that's where I'm at.
That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
So people,
go ahead.
I kind of typed it in the thing. If you're interested in learning about Om, it goes to the source, onetaste.us. If you're Sweden, go to Maria Appelquist. Or Europe, go to Maria. But if you're in America or North America, go to onetaste.us or go straight to Candace, because the source is there. And I think there's a video on One Taste that if you give them your information, you'll get the video. Stephen, do you want to add anything? Sorry, Sue, go ahead.
Just a very easy, there's no OEs, there's no goals, just building and release of female sexual energy. It just becomes so very beneficial to everybody nearby in the whole world.
Thank you, honey. It's like the equation for peace or something. And also, if you go to One Taste and look at their stuff and decide to do stuff, tell them Sex, Lies, and Consciousness send you, because we do support them tremendously, and we think it's one of the great spiritual practice out there, along with Ben's and Jen's Rody, explosive sexual healing. I'm a beneficiary of that. So is Candace. So is Maria. And Sue is on her way. She's getting on the plane, going to see Ben and his fingers, his hand actually. So I'm looking forward. Oh yeah, we are gonna do a Google Hangout. Hang on, I'm gonna kick Stephen out again so that we can hear. We are gonna do a special show, a special Google Hangout, catching Sue's right after her experience with you, Ben. No pressure.
Oh my God.
I know.
Good luck trying to communicate afterwards.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It might be a short hangout.
We'll see. I'm excited. I also wanted to just mention, as much as I'm excited about that, I'm also really excited about in 2 weeks, our next hangout is about developing your spiritual or your sexual practice, not spiritual practice, sexual practice. So,
yes, this is both of Sue and mine's passion and like, yes, why don't we have a sexual practice? We have a meditation practice, we have an eating practice, we have a physical exercise practice. What is our sexual practice? So this conversation leads into that delicious topic about how do you create your own sexual practice that really empowers you and nurture you rather than let it tie in with romance and marriage and all that stuff and kill you.
Yeah. So I know we're at the top of our hour, basically wrapping it up. But I just want to give a shout out to Ben and just say, if people want to find you, Ben, they can go to explosivesexualhealing.com.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Awesome. Love it.
Okay.
And then for Candace, where do they go?
You can visit either my blog at theorgasmiclife.com or you can visit my coaching site at CandaceHoldorfCoaching.com.
Excellent. And Johan is a coach himself. He works with executives and corporate and also new life coaches and everything. So how would they find you, honey? Uh-oh. You got to unmute yourself.
Did I mute him?
Yeah, there you go. Nope.
I'm going to mute all of you and take over the call.
I don't know what happened to your mute button, honey. You got to find that mic. Okay, so we'll come back if you could figure that out, okay? You can find me at mayvucoach.com or Sex Lives and Consciousness. I have a whole archive of beautiful radio shows on there and also all the previous Google Hangout on sex lives and consciousness. And Maria?
Maria you find on orgasmicrelations.com.
Orgasmicrelation.com. Beautiful. And Nicole, how do they find you?
Well, I'm just getting everything started, but I just have a short blog called educatingus.wordpress.com.
Educating what?
Awesome.
Us.
Us?
Yeah. It's more education based in some of my projects, but so it's nice to share.
I love it. Thank you. And Sue, how do they find you?
Yep. And so for me, come on over to sexlivesandconsciousness.com or join it or join our Facebook group. We have tons of discussions, lots of interesting things going on. And you can also find me on Facebook, Susan Seibert Coaching. And soon I will have my very own website, susanseibert.com. It's in the works, so
Awesome.
More about that, yeah, in the next couple hangouts.
Excellent. Close us out, honey.
Yeah. So thank you again. To the folks who are curious and brave enough to come to this conversation and learn about orgasmic meditation, not medication.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, I know. But I think, like Candace said, being able to ask for your desire and putting it out there is a huge step. And thank you to Ben, Candace, Maria, and May, our OM experts, you know, with their coaching work, with their experience with One Taste. You know, there's a vast wealth of knowledge here. So thank you all for your time and fun. We always have fun discussions. So
definitely.
Until next time.
Looking forward to the next one.
Namaste.
Yep.
Bye.
Namaste.
Bye.